One of the best Nintendo games that ever came out is finally getting a brand new remake. Paper Mario The 1,000-Year Door was a game that I played way back in the day when I was a kid. It originally released in 2004, so it's almost been 20 years ago since the game finally came out for the first time. In fact, I still have the original GameCube controller that I used back in the day to play this video game. Okay, man, like, hold on a second. Nobody actually uses a GameCube controller like that. Like, we know you're not playing a game. Get out of here. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Everybody says that Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door, is one of the best RPGs out there. I had a great time playing this game as a kid, but also, it was kind of difficult for young little moopliss. If you've never played the game before, you should definitely give it a shot with this remake, and if you have played the game in the past, you know what's up. Today, I'm gonna talk about everything there is with Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door, and why I truly enjoy this video game. There's a lot to discuss, so let's go ahead and jump into the video. One of my fondest memories about playing this game is, to be honest with you, it was a big contrast compared to Super Mario Sunshine and Mario Kart Double Dash, which were of course the first two Mario games that I played on the GameCube. See, when you typically play a Nintendo Mario game, it's very vibrant and bright, and the very first place that you land on in Paper Mario The 1,000-Year Door is this pirate city called Rougeport. There's trash everywhere, puddles. At one point, Mario gets robbed. Also, there's a noose hanging in the middle of the town. Like, yeah, is this actually a Nintendo game? It's absolutely mind-blowing. But because Nintendo took a step out of their comfort zone and did things a bit differently, that led to some really cool character development, environments to explore, and everything. Now, I remember playing this game as a kid, and I got stuck multiple times. The very first part that I got stuck on is the first big boss in the game, Hooktail. See, the game is split up into chapters, so you'll go to a different environment in one chapter, and it ends with a boss. If you're able to beat the boss, then you get this crystal. You need to collect 7 in order to open the 1,000-Year Door. Whoa! And apparently, somebody has been kidnapped and is in that 1,000-Year Door. That's right. Princess Peach. So here I am trying to fight this dragon in the very first chapter, and I could not get past him. I was completely stuck at this boss for such a long time. So of course I stopped playing the game for a couple of weeks. But one random weekend morning, I woke up, didn't have school, and had the whole day off. And I decided, you know what? Let me try beating this dragon again. And sure enough, the very first time I go to fight the dragon, something changes. I make it farther into the fight than I normally do. The dragon ends up eating the audience at one point. Definitely a shocker for me as a kid. But eventually I did beat the dragon, and I was so thrilled. I ended up telling my younger brother, I've never been able to beat this dragon before. Oh my goodness, I can keep playing the video game. This is awesome. Now as a kid, it's kind of hard to play this video game because I'm not reading everything. Sometimes I'm lost and I'm just trying to figure out where to go next. But eventually, though, I was able to keep progressing in the video game. Now, it's probably because I was upgrading Mario's health all the time, and I barely put any upgrades into badge power or flower power. Yeah, I was kind of that kid who thought, okay, more health equals Mario stays alive, which means I don't run into game over, so that's probably the best option. Yeah, that's like the worst option in the game. I'm gonna do things differently when I play the remake. But everything was smooth sailing up until Chapter 4. That's right, in this chapter, something very specific happens. Mario's body gets taken away from him, and he ends up becoming a ghost figure. And who would be responsible for doing this? Well, this little ghost guy right here, he's the one that does it. And to be honest with you, this guy got me stuck on this video game for probably several weeks. I had no idea what to do as Ghost Mario. Because every single time you encounter this ghost guy who steals Mario Mario's body and identity, he's invincible. You cannot beat the dude. So I had no idea what to do. And this was before I actually owned a computer or a laptop or even a smartphone. Like, that wasn't a thing back in the day. So I really didn't know where to search for what to do next. So I just kind of wandered around all over this chapter. I remember I found myself in Twilight Town and I was like, maybe I should interact with all the NPCs, or perhaps I should shake all the bushes. And at one point, I accidentally pressed a button that made me go invisible due to my partner's ability, and that's when some crows started chatting. And that's when I realized, oh, if I turn invisible next to birds in the game, they'll end up talking and giving me hints. Yeah, the game didn't tell me to do that whatsoever. I had to randomly find this out after weeks of playing. Finally, I was able to figure out how to beat this little ghost guy, and this kind of mind-blowing moment in this chapter where you think you originally beat a very easy boss, but then you realize he takes Mario's identity. This game completely blew my expectations out of the water. This game has so many different characters who have their own development for each chapter that you play. The bosses really stand out because it's not your typical, like, oh, it's a shy guy, or okay, it's a big Goomba, or a giant Babam. Like, no, the bosses are very unique. As I kind of mentioned, this ghost character, who I won't spoil who his name is, and other kind of bosses that are there, like the big dragon. A lot of it is kind of based off of old fables and, I guess, myths in urban legend. Like, for example, in chapter 4, it's based off of the fairy tale of Rumpelstiltskin, I believe is his name. Chapter 1 is about a village that is being haunted by a dragon who lives in a castle. You gotta try and rescue an individual who you think is there. Like, this game is so cool. It steps out of its normal Mario type of behavior that is normal and present in other Nintendo Mario games. Aside from the characters and environments within the game, the actual combat style is really fun. Now, it's simplistic because obviously it's aimed toward kids to understand. So of course, you know, there are things like don't jump on the enemies who have spikes on their heads. Or if there's an enemy up top, you can't use your hammer to whack them down. You gotta do different types of abilities that either your partners or Mario unlocks from badges. Not to mention, combat exists on a stage play, so there will be random hazards like smoke will come out from on stage, maybe random props will fall on characters. The audience will either throw you items that help you or cause damage to you. It's a super cool system and very unique that wasn't present in any types of video games during that time. And even if you end up beating the game and that's not a challenge for you, there's this whole other segment and area in the game called the 100 Pit Trials. Now, I remember back as a kid that my friend told me about this, and apparently there are 100 different levels of enemies that you have to face. And at the very bottom, there's this big, gigantic boss that is really hard, and apparently you can get some cool rewards. However, the catch is once you enter the 100 Pit Trials, you can't go back. So you either have to beat all the enemies up front, or die trying and restart from the very beginning. I never ended up beating this as a kid. I did get down to the very bottom and got my butt whooped by the boss down there. I'm not gonna spoil who the boss is at all, but this game really has something out there for everyone. Whether you're someone who really enjoys the story and characters who have development, perhaps you just want to look at different environments that aren't usually available in Nintendo games. The art style itself is very unique because everything's kind of made of paper, at least the characters are. And lastly, I do have to talk about the music in the game. And this is something that is very cool about the remake, because in the remake, you can still listen to the classic music that was available in the game back in the day, but if you want to listen to new renditions of soundtracks, you can still do that in this video game. They have this old school style badge that has the icon of a GameCube, and if you equip that, then you'll hear the old music that was available back in the day on the game in 2004. But if you want to listen to the new music, don't equip the badge, and there's new renditions of all the different different music that is in the video game. Apparently, people are going crazy about it online. I've only heard a couple of tracks. I'm very excited to hear all the different themes that are available in the game. Overall, I'm incredibly stoked that a game that is very near and dear to my heart and childhood is finally being remade at a level that Nintendo is showing that they care about the fans who enjoyed this game. So if you want to join me as I go down a nostalgia childhood trip, then feel free to check out my Twitch channel. I'll be streaming the game there. And if you've played Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this video game. Special thanks to the Patreon members for supporting the channel. I appreciate you guys, and thank you very much for watching. As always, stay hydrated, gamers.